Okay, thank you. So
You
we
have
are,
the recording.
thank you. Okay, so we are in the lab part. Now we can show you the step-by-step demonstration of what we have discussed so far. And mostly we will focus on the lab part because we had have a theory as well. But now if you see, okay, so we are in the dashboard of our Huawei Cloud. I've just logged in my account. So the all the steps which is necessary, like login to your account, you must have some credit, you must have a valid account to have. So we are done with it. Now this is the main center, you can say main console for Huawei Cloud. You know it very well because we have been working on this thing. If you click on the service list, then there's a bunch of services available and they have categorized into different parts. Let's move to the compute, storage, networking, all that stuff. Let's go to the container part. We had SWR, we had CCI labs. Now we click on the cloud container engine. Now this page is specifically for CCE. Every dashboard, every service has a specific dashboard, except the one which is for everyone. So as you can see, just a quick overview of this, and then I'll be moving to for the cluster creation. So this is the main page for, you can say, CC. Very brief detail is there, says some documentation is there, and the process flow which we had in the lab in the PPT. So now we have two modes. I will go for the standard cluster and click on the create button. So now try to focus on the steps which I'm just taking out, and you will see there are multiple things to consider. First of all, the billing mode, definitely we will be using paper use because we are doing for the testing purpose. We are not using right now for the commercial purpose for the yearly or the monthly packages we are looking for. So this is the basic idea about this. Maybe we can write a name. Name should be as visible as good. So it would be good to have the visibility. So I just put one name and then cluster version. It's a basically Kubernetes version. Rather, you can say what is the version of Kubernetes I should use. So I would say I'm taking 1.27. That is the latest one, and the scale of the cluster. I said 50, 200, 1000, and 2000, but I would go for the 50. And this is a HA. HA is nothing but a hot availability, or you can say hot standby. So I would say no. Right now, I'm just need one cluster to have non-HA cluster चाहिए मुझे. I need just non-HA cluster. And then network setting. Either it's your VPC or you need a tunnel. I said I need a VPC based, and then select the VPC, one VPC which I have already created, and subnet, also select the subnet, and then what the pool of IP you want to looking for. Either it's a manually or auto select. I said manually, this is fine. 10.0 should be the best one to have. And then this is the cider of your IPv4 services uh, for accessing containers. So this is the container cider. This is the service cider. Both should be different, definitely. So you can select or you can add as per your need. And there are some advanced option normally, IP tables or something. So we'll click next. And do you need DNS? Definitely I need DNS. And then I click next. Here you have a one quick overview that you can just review all the options. Okay, these options are fine. And you have to understand the information and then click submit. It would not take much time, like 10 minutes something, because they will create cluster for you. And even you can see there are three major steps. One is security group, then networks, and then the cluster. Normally security and networks are the fastest ones. The cluster takes some time because you need to build master node, then you need some installation, then you need some software packages and all that stuff. So let's wait for a while, and meanwhile let me see if there is any question or something on, so I can, because it would take little time. Okay, you can just put a question with everyone or you can send me as well. So I got one question, is that 1.27, what was that? That was the Kubernetes version. You know, Kubernetes CNCF, Cloud Native Foundation, keeps on rolling new versions with new features and removing the bugs. So 1.27 is available, or 1.25 is also available. So whatever version you are looking for, you can have. And just to add you one thing, 1.27 is the most latest one. Yes, we have 1.28, but which is recently loaded. But normally it's always a good practice to use one version back. And then 1.25 is also there, so you can have that version as well. So thank you for the question, and no, and it was a good question. And also, if you have any question, you can ask me. And before that, I would go to the dashboard again and just roam around simple options. Meanwhile, it will be created. I think it would take like 6-7 minutes more because our master node is ready. But security certificates and installation would take like 3-4 minutes. So we will be not wasting much time, and we'll go to the container engineering. Next slide. Okay, I have opened in the next window as well, just to save some time and have some options for you. This is the main dashboard for the cluster. You can see all the cluster will be showing over here. We are one cluster, BAS cluster, and the response is creating. It's been creating with this version, with this number of nodes, and let me draw for you, and total number of resources, CPU usage, memory usage. You can see the events. The billing mode is paper use. So maybe you can have multiple clusters, and all are being controlled by this guy. So we are have some idea. And also you can see this is the option for the clusters. Then SWR is there. You can have some images for your each clusters, and then you can add some add-ons. And one thing you just notice, one thing is this is all cluster. Maybe you can differentiate divide it into two parts, turbo and the standard as well. So the dashboard is very comprehensive and very detailed one to have. So let me check if our process is completed. Okay, the time is 14:16, and right now we are having 14:18. So maybe we need 1 more minute. So again, we'll come over here, and if we click on the name, so I cannot go inside because it's not created yet. We can see events maybe right now. So you can see every event is there. Installing master Kubernetes, certificates are being installing, VMs are, every steps are there. You can say multiple 30 entries are there almost. So it's very extensive for the purpose of logging an event. Maybe we can have one more minutes to have. So we'll go back to the cluster and we can refresh it. Still it is creating. Normally you can imagine like 8 to 12 minutes are a minimum time, because you need to have cluster ready with all the steps. Okay, I have one question. Can we change the blink mode as CC? Yes, we can. Definitely, you can see over here. But it's not always a good practice. Let me tell you one thing. Because pay per use is the one thing which is charged as per your use, maybe after 1 hour, after 2 hours. And and the second thing is that monthly and yearly is a one-time charges for that certain time of period. So if you want to have it a change, so try to do after the period, like after 1 year, after 1 month, whatever you're looking for. The second question which I get, can we increase the cluster node size after? Yes, these are all things are very flexible, but it is all done with the precautions, because uh, actually this all depends on the planning part as well. I know my setup is not more than 50 or 200 nodes, so I would select 2000 as the maximum. But it does not happen like Today I have a node of 5, and tomorrow I would be needing 5,000, because that not much jump is there. The increase is normally gradually, or sometime it's fluctuating, but normally it's within the period. Like I know my growth in next 2 years or 3 years. So normally 2,000 is the massive one. And normally the best practice is that not to add much nodes in one cluster. You can divide the cluster. You can have 5 clusters in your Huawei cloud, and you will be dividing 500 nodes on each cluster, because putting every node of your network in one cluster is it's not good to have. Thank you for the questions. So we are done. Now you can see all steps are completed. Now if I go to the back to the cluster management, I can see best cluster, it is running with all that availability. But right now I don't have nodes. So same, I will create some nodes. See the steps. Okay, select some nodes. Okay, let me select the one node. Okay, the number of nodes should be 2 at least. Password. You can have password and as well as key pair. So we are selecting password right now, and the storage and the VPC are the same. And then click next. Again, you can review all the options and click on the read. So now you can say the nodes are being created. Again, like the cluster, I can have 50 ECS, two I have created. So 48 can be added more. So you can see the name and the ID. We need to wait a while, then nodes will be ready. Okay, so let me refresh and see if nodes are ready. Yes, so nodes are ready, the installation is there. Meanwhile, again, we'll do the same process. We will be roaming around this option. So all the workloads are over there. You can see all the workloads options are there, and the nodes options are there. So this is the maximum ability I can produce with this cluster. And definitely we can add more as per our need. So okay, fine. And then you can see you can add more nodes as well, and you can accept the nodes. Like if you have available node, you can accept this in your cluster. But right now we are creating two nodes for redundancy, like so we can have two nodes. Even if one node is down, we our application will be working properly. Okay, now I can see it's running and schedulable. Yeah, it's mean I can put load on it, and even you can see there are 8 out of 14 pods are running. These are the default pods normally. These are default pods like Core, DNS, all the add-ons. So they are divided into the board both nodes. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, then we have again the type of billing paper use and everything is there, and you can see CPU condition, how much it is requested, how much is total limit is 1.75 and total is 1.93, and I have used almost 90% because currently they are being installed and softwares are being there installed being installed. So uh, the CPU is on the higher side, but the memory is around 40%. That is fine. Now what we can do, either we can explore these nodes and see all those options, or maybe we can put some workloads on it. For example, if I go to the workload, now I am able to create workloads on it, maybe a deployment, stateful set, or jobs, cron job, whatever, by automatic process or by the YAML, or maybe we can create one single pod. Okay, and then if I click on the create workload, there are a bunch of options available like deployment and something. Let's say I could put the name, see the options. Okay, and number of nodes at least minimum is two. You can have more. And what should be the container? So maybe I would be using my own, using SWR or some open source or freely available. Like let's say Ubuntu, BusyBox, Nginx. Maybe we can have one for the Nginx, and then click OK. And what is the version or image tag? I said I need the latest one. So now these two options are CPU and memory loads, which is requested, and this is the limit maximum. So I said this is okay. Now I can select some more option. I can select some more option just to verify things as good. Like this is the life cycle. You can add some commands. Then you can have some inventor variable. Everything you normally you do with the YAML commands, you can have this. Okay, then you can have service created, but we'll create service later. So we just create workload and we are done. You know, now my deployment is being processed, and I can see uh, 0 is normal and 2 are updated. So it take little time, and then we'll see if it is spin up or have some problem, so we can troubleshoot it. Again, we have the option for viewing log and monitor and everything. You can see the KPIs. Dashboard is very rich, very extensive. Okay, if I click on it, I say status is running. Both pod are working properly with all these options. Before creating a service or something, let me take you to the main dashboard. So now you would see how much granular and how much detailed dashboard Huawei is providing. This is the cluster dashboard with everything is there. Your CPU usage, your memory usage, everything is there. You can just explore. Everything is there. Even you can control the cluster by your command line. You don't need to go to web, and every time you just click on different buttons, you can configure kubectl on your machine, and you can configure kubectl command, and you will manage all your cluster from your desktop. Okay, and yeah, I will take some question and then I'll come back. So the upgrade process of Kubernetes version. Okay, this is very good question, Roy Alex. The best thing about the managed Kubernetes is one is you don't need to go for the upgrade and patch. Maybe if you need one for yourself, you can do it as well. For example, if I go to the cluster, there is an option for cluster upgrade. But normally every time the new version of Kubernetes is coming, right now you can see 1.27, which is the most latest version, is already there for you. So you don't need to worry about all that stuff. But still, if you want, like my cluster is working on 1.25 and I wanted to upgrade in 1.26 or 1.27, so you can perform this as well. And the second question which I got, what DR, disaster recovery mechanism, are in place for Kubernetes cluster management by Huawei Cloud? So it has two answers for your question. First of all, DR is, or redundancy, is the one of the most important thing when we configure any resource, be it your cluster, be it your website or anything, because this is what we are looking for. Fine. So this is the basic requirement, and definitely you and Huawei Cloud both is looking for it. So you have multiple options available for it. For example, you are creating everything in HA. Still, you can have still you can have um, cluster created in a HA environment. Like when we were creating cluster, you saw one option for the HA option. So you can enable as well. Or you can put one more thing is that you will create a cluster on a Huawei Cloud and one cluster on your own premises and connect both of them by the tunnel option. So you would be having a DR option as well. Yes, everything is exportable, everything is visible to you. For example, if I click, and even the one of the most thing, actually every cloud has the services for the monitoring and metric performance management, but they have their specific services to get. There is other service as well, but for every part, like for clusters, for containers, for deployment, the dashboard is already built in it. So you have both options. You can use in one centralized position, or you can have real time metrics in the same dashboard with the logs, with the monitoring, everything, because you can say this is your knock where your information is there, where configuration is there, your metric is there, everything is on one window. Although you can have it available on the other services as well, where you can see all your resources. In the last one, I'll show you the resources, so you will see all the resources are there, everything is there. So you can go into each resources and see how much they are utilized, and every metrics you can see. You can evaluate KPIs, all that stuff. So that is the good question from both of you. Thank you. So let's get back to the cluster, and I can see there are two nodes and both are available with this percentages of CPU and all that stuff. Let me go to the cluster and also see the metrics, because this is the normal time and then we created workloads. So the assignment has increased. The usage is slightly fine. And then we go for the nodes and I can see two nodes are there. The one thing which I just looking is that 103% of overcommit. It's mean we have created two pods and they are reserving almost quarter CPU each. It's been half CPU, so which is little more than we have. But the usage is still under 70, 72, 73%. That is a command is fine. But definitely we will be not using two virtual CPUs. We will be using more, and maybe we can add more machines maybe we can add two more machines, so make it four nodes cluster. That's fine too. Or maybe we can replace one with the higher value. Maybe I can replace this with one of higher capacity, like 16 virtual CPUs and 32 GB something. That's fine. Okay, now we can go to the workloads, and I can see there is a one workload is working which has two pods, and both are running properly. Both are updated, having the Nginx image. Again, I can monitor the KPI of this pod, this deployment from here as well. Definitely, I have the other service, but I can do it from here as well. Every KPI, networking, GPU, all that stuff, everything is there. You can see, and you can monitor. Okay, that's fine. And you can see log. You don't need to go here and there, and you just stick to the one place. This is a one window operation, you can say. But right now, this deployment is working on my cluster, but of no use. Why would I say that it's no use? Because it's not accessible to anyone except the one person who is in the cluster and using all that stuff. But I want it to be available outside the cluster or outside this Huawei cloud world to the internet or to the everyone. And before that, I can tell you every option is there. Auto scaling, you can edit YAML, you can roll back every option, every task which you perform on normal Kubernetes can be done over here. No problem at all. Just see this window for a 10 second. And now you see there are multiple options you uh, would have seen over here. Pods, access mode. How do I access it? How many pods are there? There's an option for scheduling and auto scaling. History are there. Events are there. Now I want this to be accessible. So I create an access mode, and I would create one service. We have already learned about the services in our second part, but just to quick idea, cluster IP is normally used for service creating networking within the cluster. Then it is for taking you out of the node from your node. But I want load balancer so it can be accessible to the whole world. So just focus on the steps. Load balancer type, I need dedicated right now, and let me put a name. You can put any name. I would say Elastic Load Balancer for CCE. AZ, where my resources are there. So it was in AZ1 and AZ2, I guess. That's fine. How do you look for the subnet, same subnet which I'm using? Okay, the second option is to specification. Is it elastic? You mean it can elast as per the need or the fixed? I said right now I don't need the elastic one. I need the small with the maximum connection of 500,000. That is more than my use. Again, this relevant condition. Now, important thing: do I need a health check every time they would see that nodes are available, or so I can send data to them? For example, let me draw for this for you. For example, this is my load balancer, and there are two nodes, two bots behind it, pod 1 and pod 2. This is my ELB, Elastic Load Balancers. So every time this Elastic Load Balancer would be checking that are you available? Are you available? Are you healthy? Are you okay? If see okay, then they will transmit the data. Otherwise, they would not send the data for this machine. But right now, what I am looking that I don't need a health check, so I just disable it. Now, important thing, the ports number, the container port and the service port. Container port is that where my service is working on it. I know this is the Nginx and it's working on port 80, so I put port 80 over here. Service port is the port on which I want to access my services. For example, my website, my application, or all that stuff. So I said maybe you can access on port 8080 just for make it easy. Maybe we can put port 80 as well, just to keep things simple. I put different ports so you can just clarify. Even you can create from the YAML. So you can say all the command which I have performed, they created a YAML for you. So if you are good at with the CLI with the command, you can use this as well. So my load balancer is being created. Let me refresh for a while, and you see my deployment. My service is ready with the load balancer, with the public IP is available is there, and all the private IP. And also I can see different IP. This is my private IP. This is my public IP. This is the load balancer IP. This is my service IP. So I would take the public IP of my load balancer and I would put on another window, and I will not put an enter before. Then I would ask you if it is accessible, yes or no. Just I would not ask for the reason right now. Just yes or no. Will my website is accessible or not? Okay, I got two answers. One is yes and another one is no. So if I put enter, let's say, do my website is accessible or not? Then I will be asking why or how. So what do you think? Let me recall it. I have created a deployment with two pods, both are working. I created service with load balancer that is working too. And I got the public IP as well. And public IP is available. So I just put the IP and press the enter. So the people said no are the right one because I did not put the port number 8080. But one more thing is there. Okay. So it was cached. Okay. So maybe you can use this IP as well. So whenever I put this port number, I can see my Nginx port is available. My web is available and it's working. The reason I was asking is that because I did not put the port number. And definitely when I came to this deployment or I created service, so if I click on the manage node, I can see how many ports are running over here, and both are okay. So this is the demonstration of one workload is created with the services, and both are running properly, the pods, and of course the deployment as well. With deployment we have the services as well, and all are working on a cluster which is having this much of the usage. So now what we can do is to remove this cluster with the knowledge with cluster, just to remove and just to delete this cluster. So what would be the step? I will just go to the cluster and click on delete cluster. Again, I would ask, if I delete this cluster, will it delete it or not? Yes or no? If I click on delete cluster, would it delete it? Yes or no? Okay, again, yes, no, yes. Three options are there. Somebody said yes, somebody say no, and somebody says smiley. So it would not delete because there are resources. And the one of the good thing which I just noticed recently, then whenever you create a delete option in your cluster, so they give you a multi-layer of security. They say no, you cannot delete until you will verify yourself as a root user. Although I am connected with the root user, but just to verify. Maybe if I get the code, I put the correct code, but still they will not allow me because they have the resources. Let me put some code over here. I should get a SMS, or maybe you can use email option or MFA option. But right now I'm using SMS option. Okay, I got a code. You can see the sound as well. 72. and click OK. And now is asking that what would you do with the nodes? I said okay, delete this. What about the storage? I said delete it. Load balancer, I said delete it. Okay, so if I go to the resources now, as I mentioned you earlier, all the resources which I have used, you can see over here. This is a good idea. After doing any operation, just check over here which service is working. You can see there's ELB, CCE, VPCs are there, volumes are there. Everyone is there. You can easily remove as per your need. Otherwise, it will cost you a lot. And if I go to the CCE, it would take some time to delete as well because there are nodes and there is everything. And I hope this step-by-step demonstration is very much useful to you. You can perform this operations as per your need, and you can use the benefit of both of Huawei Cloud and the CCE as well. Okay, there are multiple security parameters are there. For example, the first and the most important security parameter is image security. Normally, in any cluster, we develop resources with the corrupted images. So here you don't need to go outside. You can use SWR. You can use the own resources. And the second thing is that this cluster is only available to you to your VPC. There is no point it's going outside. If you remember when I was creating cluster, I did not use the elastic IP. It's mean it is not visible to the public. So there is a very less chance to get it attacked because it is only available to you. But when I created ELB, I put a public IP, so my resources, my web is available to the internet. Otherwise, my cluster is very private to me. It's like same like it is available on my office, my data center. So that is one more good thing is that, and there are some other security mechanisms. You can put security groups. And if you remember when I was creating cluster, the first step was the security step, then the network and the installation and all the stuff. And even you can have RBAC role based policies. There are a bunch of security mechanisms available. Even you can put WAF. WAF is web application firewall. Normally we have a firewall which is for defending our network, but WAF is for something which is for our application. Even you can integrate with third party. So there are so many options. And the best thing I remember is end-to-end encryption. You can have the encryption as well. You can put volume encryption. You can put the secrets. You can have security intact. So again, good question. So I think if we go back to the slides as well, I can see these are the steps. And thank you for the questions throughout the session. And even after the session, you can have any question or discussion. You are always welcome. Even you can put on the forum on the same post, or you can put ask a question, and then we'll try to answer you. And Miss Alina, if I go for the 3 questions, which normally we have in the end, or you just have a review for these 2 slides?
Yes, I just want to mention the fact that we have 2 activities. One of them is the one I mentioned before. The best questions will receive 600 high coins, and Bashir will select the best questions based on today's topic. We have 2 users here in the chat who have been very active with the questions. I already saw your questions, so thank you for all the questions you had today. And we welcome everyone to continue to ask questions in the community, even after this session, like you said. As long as the questions are relevant to today's topic, they can qualify for the best question reward. I will share the link again in